Hi everybody, it's Michelle Gilmartin here, and today we are going to do the Digital Dealer Paisley in Bloom belt bag. Very cute project. So within your kit from A1, you will have your stabilizer, you will have your fabric in the kit. There's just, the extra fabric is only these pieces of green, or I think it's meadow something color. And what else will be in there? Sticky tear away or sticky wash away. And then you'll also have a zipper pouch blank, and you'll have this kit that has your hardware in it and your strap in it. So for this project, you will need your general basic sewing embroidery supplies. These are the 3 colors of thread I will be using. I will be doing the green one. The glide thread is clover, and then I have a tan and kind of a cream color that matches the zipper pouch. So that's what I have so far, and along with any basic ironing, pressing, some pins you'll need, and a couple of other things as we go along. So let's dive in. So this is going to be what they call a 5-part project. We'll be embroidering the front part A, part 2 is the front part B, part 3 is the back part A, part 4 is the back part B, and part 5 is finishing the bag and attaching the buckle. I always begin by pressing my blank first. I give it a little bit of best press just to kind of get all of the shipping wrinkles or folding wrinkles or whatever else is going on with it. So I am on page 5, if you would like to follow along. I'm over at my pressing mat. I'm going to move over here. All right, here's my mat. I've already given my my zipper pouch a good press, using a little bit of best press on it, and steam to get the wrinkles out, because you won't always need steam. So I'm looking at page 9, and we are on part 1, embroidering the front part A. So the first step is to place the zipper pouch blank on a flat surface with the right side down. Okay, so the inside will be different. It'll look like lining. It's thinner. The outside is more canvasy. So I've got the right side against my pressing mat, and be sure the zipper is closed and the zipper pull is to the right. All right. So my zipper pull's over here. This is going to get us started by acclimating ourselves with where the zipper is, so that we know if we're doing part A or part B. So right now our zipper needs to be to the right. All right, so the next step is to fold the bottom section of the lining to the top over the zipper, exposing the wrong side of the outer pouch fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and do that there, and it says go ahead and pin it in place. So I'm going to get a couple of pins, and I'm going to pin that so that it stays out of the way. All right. So then I am going to grab one of my pieces of backing, SF101, and I'm going to place it sticky side down to the wrong side of the canvas bag. So it should look like this. Looks like maybe this is just a little bit big. That's right. I'm going to ease it underneath the zipper here, just so that it goes all the way to the edge of my fabric. And then I can cut off at the bottom if I need it. Okay, here we go. And then I am going to iron the fusible backing to the wrong side of the outer pouch fabric closest to me. So this is down this way. My zipper is to the right. My fabric is right side down to the mat. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a good press so that I can fuse this down. So I would say take a little bit of extra care when fusing this SF101 onto your canvas, and make sure that it's completely fused, because you're going to be stitching this over sticky wash away. So at some point you're going to be pulling this off the stabilizer, and if you're not completely fused, your stabilizer is going to lift when you do that. I mean, not your SF101 is going to lift. It's going to stay stuck to your stabilizer. So you want to make sure that you follow all the directions on how to press the SF101. Hold it in place, make sure that it's completely stuck. And you know, it's really best when you're doing the pressing part like this to allow it to cool all the way before you begin to handle it. That's also part of the fusing process. Your glue has to cool. So I'm making sure that I'm using some firm pressure, about 5 seconds or so in each area. And then I'm just going to let it set so that this can cool on its own. And let's see what's, the next step is step 4, page 5, hoop the wash away sticky batt stabilizer with the glossy paper up with the tip of the scissor or a scoring tool. I like my my seam ripper for this because then I can use the point of the seam ripper to lift my score marks. And then load the 5x7 Paisley in Bloom Part A embroidery file onto the machine. So we need to make sure that we're grabbing Part A. So while this is still cooling a little bit, I'm going to set this down. I'm going to switch over to the sewing machine. All right, so I have my my design on my screen. So this is offered in both a 8x12 and a 5x7. So we are using the 5x7 files in class today, so you'll have all 4 files. So we are going to begin where it says Paisley A. So if we touch the first one, it should say Paisley in Bloom embroidery files. That should be A. What is that one? Oh, it doesn't look like they're actually labeled. Wow, let me look in the directions and see if that kind of gives me an idea. Because I was pretty sure they'd say like A, B, or C. Okay, so it looks like they are in the correct order. So this one is part A. This one is part B. This one is part A. This one is part C, and then D. So it's one, this is going to be part A, this is going to be part A, this is going to be part B, this is going to be part B. So just so, wow, I thought it would be on the actual file that you could see. All right, so I have the first file that I selected. I'm going to go ahead and select set. And I think I'm just going to jump right over into embroidery. All right, let me grab my hoop. And I'm going to place my hoop on the machine. Now, I am using a 7511 anti-glue needle because I'm using sticky stabilizer. So the anti-glue needle will help not have the sticky on the stabilizer build up on my needle. If it does, no worry. Just have, you know, something there handy that you can clean the needle with. Oftentimes, I'll just use a little bit of rubbing alcohol, but if you know anybody that's in the medical field, you can buy those little pads that they use to remove tape. It's called a tape remover pad. It has, you know, a little bit of an oil kind of base to it, and I like to keep those handy as well because that way it takes all the glue off. All right, so I have just a regular bobbin inside my embroidery bobbin. I suspect that will be fine for all of it since I do have lining that's going to appear later. And then let me grab and see what's going to sew first. So the first thing to sew out is going to be a placement line for the background placement. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and use the my cream color thread that matches the pouch. So I'm going to go ahead and load that. It's like my pouch has a long time to be able to cool, so I know that when I put it on there, my fusible SF101 will be in good shape. It'll be completely fused. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sew out the first portion. So this is my positioning line. And let's take a look at what the next step is. So our next step will be step number 9 on page 5, bottom row. Let's see. All right, so here is my zipper pouch on a flat surface. So right now I'm going to make sure that it's right side up, the zipper's closed, but now it wants the zipper pulled to the left. I can identify that this is, where I pinned the lining up, so I'm going to just kind of flip this around so that now this is down and this is up. I'm going to fold the zipper pouch blank in half perpendicular to the zipper, right sides together, and this is fold A. So right side up, zipper pull to the left, fold the zipper pouch in half perpendicular to the zipper with the right sides together. This is fold A. Let's see what's next. So I've turned over to page 6. Align fold A with the vertical placement line and align the seam of the lining with the horizontal placement line. All right, let's see what we got here. So we have fold A. This is fold A. We're going to align it with this one. All right, I mistook what perpendicular was. So right side up, zipper pull to the left, perpendicular fold. So this is our perpendicular fold. And the lining and the excess fabric is up here. You can see that my pins are still up there for holding the lining. Now I'm going to align fold A with the vertical placement line. That's this one here. And align the seam of the lining with the horizontal placement line. So here's the seam of the lining right here. Let me get a little bit closer here so you can see that. So here's the seam of the lining that's folded up. That one's going to go on my vertical placement line. This one's going to go on my horizontal, or this one's going to go on my horizontal. This one's going to go on my vertical. All right. Going to bring the hoop over. There's the line for the lining. Make sure you match it top and bottom. And then here is this on the vertical line. So if I lift that up, this is my seam, should be along that line. All right, so I'm going to unfold the zipper pouch and smooth to adhere it to the stabilizer. The project will be right side up with the zipper pulled to the left and the excess fabric at the top and the right. Be sure the lining is out of the way. All right, got it. It's always the first one. The first time it was like, ooh, this sign's a little confusing. Hold on. We're going to start stitching. All right, the next thing to stitch, which is color stop number 2, step number 13, is to stitch the background tack down line. This stitch will be removed later. All right, so let me zoom in here with this. You want to make sure that you placed that fold. Come on. There we go, focus. You want to make sure that you place that fold of your lining on that placement line, because your needle's going to skim over the top here. Your foot shouldn't be right through. It shouldn't be, the needle drop should not be right smack through the center of the zipper. So it should be more towards the inside of the bag. So just make sure that you're not that you double check if you need to. So this is going to be removed later. going to tack our fabric to the sticky stabilizer. All right, so then we're going to stitch the quilting design and the flower fill. So I have my tan thread here for the quilting design, and I have my green for my flower fill. And here we go. I'm just going to pause until it finishes doing just the quilting here. There we go. All right, we're going to go ahead and do the green now. I'll let it soak for a bit and then I'll turn the camera off. We have to watch the needle go up and down. Okay, so our flowers have stitched out, and the last stitch out is going to be a placement line for when we rehoop. So it is suggested that you do that placement line with something you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and leave my green thread in for that, and this is going to help me actually rehoop the other side of the bag. All right, it's time to rehoop. We finished part A, the first part of part A, and let's make sure that we get the correct connecting design when we come back. So I'm going to take this over the table, and we're going to remove our basting stitches. leave these stitches in and remove as much of the sticky stabilizer as you can without obviously pulling off your backing and distorting it. So let's go over to the table. All right, so I'm just going to remove the tack down. I'm not removing the stitches that show me where my placement goes. I'm just removing the basting stitches that was holding this to the hoop while I stitched. And let's go on the back and see what we got back here. Sometimes you can pull some from the back and then some from the front. Comes out pretty easy. I just want to make sure that I don't cut anything I'm not supposed to cut. So when we pull this out of the hoop, we really want to make sure that we don't cut the bag at all, whether it's the bag itself or the lining or anything like that. We want to make sure that we're very, very careful so that we just get what we need to off of the stabilizer. I find pulling the basting stitching out while it's still in the hoop actually works better for me. But if you like to do it the other way, that works too. Whatever works for you. I'm going to take it out of the hoop and then pull those basting stitches out. That works. And then make sure that when you're looking here that you're not pulling out the actual stitching line for the lining out of the bag. You're only pulling out the basting. So if this proves a little bit challenging for you because the colors are too similar, when we do the next basting line, since we're going to pull it out, use a color of thread that's different. That makes it easy for you to determine. Okay, I think I got them all now. Let's see. All right. Looks like that got it. All right, so now I'm going to carefully remove this from my stabilizer. And sometimes with this, you can start by just putting the seam ripper, but outside of where your stitching is, to just kind of get it out of the hoop. And then you have less that you have to trim. Again, be careful when you get over here that you're not cutting the bag or the bag lining or anything. And then maybe I'll get in there with some scissors on that part. Again, I'm not really too worried about getting all of this away because if the bag is ever washed, it's all going to wash away anyway. I will get what sticks out off though. All right, so my next step is to hoop another piece of stabilizer, my 5x7 hoop. And I will be back in a minute. I thought I'd show you how I like to score, since I did that to begin with. I use a seam ripper, the button side up, the pointy side down, and I just make a big X. And you just need to be careful that you don't cut all the way through. And then that way it kind of gives you, you can use the seam ripper to kind of come up underneath it and tear more. So I just find this to be the easiest way for me, because then I can get up underneath there, make sure it's all cut to the edge, and pull it off. Nice and fast and efficient. And it all comes off pretty easy. All right, so I'm ready to go. And I'm going, this is what I'm looking like now. I've done my zipper pulls to the left. I've done one. Here's my placement line for the next one. So the marks, the registration marks. And you can actually even fold it right on those registration marks. So the other thing that you can do is when you have registration marks, the directions have you stick thumbtacks in there, which is, it kind of pokes holes in things. So I'm not really a huge fan of the thumbtack. You can use a straight pin. A lot of us do that. But if when you do these registration marks that, you know, from the front here, if you change your bobbin thread to something you can see, you can actually use them to align for the next part. The other thing you can do, if you didn't do that, like me, is I can go in there with an air erasable or iron erasable pen, and I can just go over those marks with my pen. So I know exactly where those registration marks are. So now from the back, when I go to realign it in the hoop, I will have those marks to guide me. So I'm going to go ahead and return to the machine. So we are actually on step number 13 on page 6. Stitch the background tack down line. This stitch will be removed. And oh, nope, we're not. Sorry, we are on the bottom of page 6. We already did. We're on part 2. So we are embroidering the front part B. Okay, so we're doing the fronts first. All right. So let's see what's up next. I got backwards on this. I thought we were going to do part A all the way and then part B. So let's see where we're going next. So we've done that. We've got our stabilizer. We've done all that. We have the 5x7. Using a visible thread color, stitch the registration marks directly onto the stabilizer. All right. I was mistaken, but I thought we were going to do like part B. So we're doing the other half of this is the other part of the front. So in fact, we are using part B, and this is going to be the pouch placement line for those. So it says using a visible thread color, stitch the registration marks of the pouch placement line directly onto the stabilizer. So this is our second piece of stabilizer. And I'm going to meet you over at the machine. I'm going to go ahead and leave the tan. I'm going to put the tan in because it's going to sew it's going to be sewing the quilting first. So I'm going to put the tan thread in so that I can see the registration marks, and then I won't have to change twice. All right, so we're back at the machine. I am in the Paisley and Bloom opening the files for the 5x7. And we are using this one, the second one. So this is one we just did. This is the second one. So this is the front of the bag. This is the back of the bag. I was confused thinking these guys were going to, you know, make a front and a back, one of each. So we're going to make sure you select that one and then select set and go ahead and select embroidery. What you should see first are some registration lines for you to put the other side of the pouch on. So I went ahead and loaded it with tan thread because, or I'm going to load it with tan thread because it's going to sew the, at least I think it's going to. Let me look just because, you know, this one's been a brain buster here. Yes. Yes, it's going to end up sewing the, no, I do need the cream. So I'm going to just leave, I'm just going to go ahead and go with tan for the registration. We still have a basting stitch that's going to sew out like it did on the first one to actually sew our bag to the stabilizer so it doesn't move around. So I'm back at number 1, which means I am going to sew the placement lines for fold and place at the other side of this bag. And I just have trying to find a place where it's not so much glare. Maybe I'll just turn the light down a little bit and it won't have so much glare on it for you.
What machines does it fit?
It'll fit any machine. She might need a different spool stand. This might be better for her.
Well, I bought her a big, that's the one I bought her last year,
Yeah, that's better. I think I'll just do light it. Position 2, there we go. So I have the tan in. I'm going to go ahead and sew the first color stop, and that is going to give me the placement lines for my fold. So I'm going to line up the placement lines that I marked on this side so I could see them with those new placement lines. All right, so I'm going to take this over to the table so that I can do some good placement with this because this kind of matters. So let me pause and move this over. All right, so let me put, tan doesn't show up on the pink. Let me stick something white underneath it so you can see it. All right, so these are my registration marks. Here is what I've already stitched. I'm going to fold it back in half. The excess is at the top. Here's my registration marks that I did before. And I'm going to line up these registration marks with the registration marks here. So that's there. Now this one should line up with the fold of the lining, same as before. So we want, there's the fold of my lining right here. I want that to measure up with that one. And then if you want to be really sure, you can take a pen and put a pin through the corner and then flip it over to the back, and look at that. My pin's going right through the corner of the other one. So that one's good. Let me look at this one. So pin right through the corner of the green, flip it over, pin is going right through the corner of the tan. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for it to be lined up with the tan on the bottom, the green that you sewed in the last one here. And then up here at the top, we want this fold of our lining to be lining up with this other placement line here. All right, then we're going to take this and put it back on our machine. All right, I have my cream color back on. This is going to do that placement, that tack down line all the way around. So again, put your foot down, make sure that it's, you know, it's lining up the foot will be skimming across the top of your zipper. And then, so with my last tack down line, it actually tacked down inside right on the zipper tape. Depending on how you placed, yours might be a little bit lower, a little bit higher. And so I'm just going to run that tack down line to actually tack it to my hoop. Again, we'll be pulling this out later. So if you have some bobbins that are like only have a little tiny bit of thread left in them and you want to use them, to kind of use them up. If they're a color you can see from the back, you can change those out. And that way when you go to pull this basting line out later, you'll really be able to see it because you'll have a different color on the back. All right, so I am back at my quilting line, which is in the tan. All right, you should be able to see that now. All right, so we are running this for about 5 minutes. So I will start it. I will let it run for a little bit, and then I'll just go ahead and pause the camera. Once you've gotten this far, you're home free. You're just doing the quilting and the flowers. All right, tan is finished. On to our flowers. All right, so it's going to sew our 5 flowers, and then we are done with the front half. I'll let it run for a little while. All right, I'm going to take the hoop over to the table. I'm going to remove the basting stitches, and also I'm going to remove the alignment stitches, and we're done with the front half of the bag. We'll move on to the back. All right, project's out of the hoop. Here's what we look like. I've got all of my marks, registration marks and everything removed. If you want to give this a good press, you can from the back. Please, 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 no steam, because what'll happen is the steam will start your wash away stabilizer dissolving. You'll not only have puckers because it's not all gone, but you will also have kind of a sticky mess. So I'm just going to grab a press cloth and put it over the top here and give it a press without steam. I like it. This is a goddess pressing sheet. It's a Teflon sheet, which means that it conducts heat. So unlike a piece of muslin or say the OESD cloth press cloth, or a piece of parchment paper, this one conducts heat. The others actually pull the heat out. So this will actually get hotter. So be careful that you don't cook anything. So you won't need to iron quite as long. And then when I'm done, I'm going to remove it and let it cool because we always want to let it cool. All right, so we have, I'll flip it over really fast. We have one side complete, looking good. We now need to rehoop 5x7 stabilizer again. So I will be doing that and I will be right back. This can cool while I'm doing that. All right, so now our zipper pull is to the left. We're going to unpin the first lining and push it back this way. And then we're going to do the same with this as we did with the other. We're going to take the lining and take it out of the way. And then we're actually going to press some SF101 to this other part of the pouch. So I'm just going to give this a press so it's out of the way. And again, I don't have steam on the iron anymore when I'm pressing that top side because I don't want to start dissolving my wash away stabilizer. So I'm just going to pin this. So this is my lining up, just like I did for the front of the bag. I'm just going to pin it so that it's out of the way and it stays out of the way. And then I have wash away stabilizer, and I believe I'm going to be doing the same thing. I must need a fold line in here, right? So I'm going to, let's see. Was I gonna fold the whole thing the first time? All right, it was on the other page. I'm like, wait a minute. All right, so I'm going to load In Bloom Part C onto page 9. At the very top of the page, you'll see that there's a stitch placement, place the zipper. So right now, this should be in this position with it right side up with my zipper pull to the right. And then I am taking, it looks like it's rotated. Place the zipper pouch blank on a flat surface, right side up. Be sure the zipper is closed and the pull is to the right. Fold the zipper pouch in half perpendicular to the zipper, right sides together, like we did on the other one. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move over to the machine and get moving with the next part. All right, so we are going to want to bring up this file. All right, so we're gonna bring that one up and set. And let's see what the first thing is to stitch, and that is the placement line. So on this, in this instance, you're gonna have a placement line. And I am going to actually change out to this bobbin that has pink thread because I want you to, or not for the placement, but for the tack down line. I'm going to change out to the bobbin with the pink thread because that way you'll be able to see how much easier it might be to actually remove those basting stitches if they're not the same color as the pouch you're trying to remove them from. So I'm going to go ahead and do my placement lines. Let's do embroidery. And I am doing my placement line with the cream color. And I'm going to go ahead and take this over to the table to do my placement. And the next thing that sews is going to be the basting line, the line that we had to remove twice from the first two parts after we were done stitching. So for just this one part, In this case, I'm going to stick in this pink bobbin. It's just a little bit of leftover pink on there, so that when I'm done and I turn the project over so that to remove this basting, I will actually be able to see where the stitching is. And the other thing that I'm going to actually have you do with this is, I don't know if you've noticed, but you sometimes when you start that basting line and you end that basting line, the knot gets kind of wadded. There's a lot of threads there. So what I'm going to have you do is actually move ahead 4 stitches before you start basting and pull your bobbin thread up, because that way you won't have it at that end, and the tie off at the other end is not nearly the same as it is in the beginning. In the beginning, you do kind of get the stitch in place and the knots. At the end, it's just a very simple tie off. So in the beginning, I'm going to avoid having that chunk of thread there that's hard for me to find and hard for me to clip with those basting stitches. And I'm going to move ahead a few stitches and then pull the bobbin thread up. All right, so I'm going to utilize my placement lines here. Here's my my vertical, and here's my horizontal up here. I know it's kind of hard to see it, so maybe I could just do a couple of dots here, just so you can see. Same as last time. So the fold, first of all, you want to make sure that your zipper pull is over on the left side now, because this is folded in half, all right? Just like when we did the first part of the bag, we're doing the left side of the bag first. So our fold is, we're not this way, our fold is over here. So I'm going to take our fold line and align it with this vertical line, and then the seam line of the lining is going to align with that line.
It's huge. The print is huge. Okay, I think we should put this on something more white.
So again, remember, here's my seam line for my lining. I want to make sure that's above that horizontal line. I want to make sure it's even on both sides. And then this is my vertical line. It's on my fold line. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open the pouch up and kind of smoosh it down so it sticks. And then I'm going to take it over the machine, and we're going to begin stitching the important part of it. All right, so color stop 2 is still my cream thread on the top, but this is where I put the pink bobbin thread in. Again, it can be whatever color you have a bobbin of embroidery thread, not sewing thread, that you might want to get rid of. All right, I'm pulling my thread up here. I'm going to go to my needle plus minus, and I'm going to advance it 4 stitches. All right. And then I'm going to drop my needle by doing needle down, needle up, and I'm going to pull up that bobbin thread. All right, so now I'm not nearly going to have as big of a knot. This is basting, it's not holding everything together. So I've still got a tack down, but not nearly as much of a tack down as I would have had if I'd added those other 4 stitches. And then I'll take the hoop off the machine so that you can see what I'm talking about with this. All right, see, there's less stitches at the end for the tie off than there are at the beginning. All right, so if I take this off, so now look what, here's my beginning. No, here's my end. This got 2 right here. Here's my beginning, which has hardly any. So to pull this out is going to be really easy because I can actually see the pink bobbin thread. So that's always an option when you have to, for 2 reasons. You can use it for, like in this case where I'm going to remove basting stitches and I want to make it easy to find. Or if you're doing like a tile scene or something, or you're doing an in the hoop quilt or something like that, you can use that final stitch that goes around on the around the outside, the one that indicates your stitching line when you're sewing your pieces together. You can also change that to a different color, because that way you can see when you have the squares right sides together and you're looking at the back of them, you can see what color thread you need, or you can see where remove those stitches out or what line to stitch on. All right, back to my regular bobbin thread. And I need my quilting design now. This one's going to be kind of cool. You're going to make a hole in here for your strap to go through on each side for your belt strap to go through. Think of this as a gigantic buttonhole with fabric on it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down here so that you can see. We'll let that sew for a little bit, and then it says 5-minute stitch out. We'll let it sew for a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and pause the camera. All right, time for the flowers. Alrighty. All right, so we're going to begin making the strap carrier, the hole in the back of the bag for the strap to go through. So it's going to be 3-part. Think of it as a giant buttonhole that we're adding fabric to. So the first thing that stitches out, it's going to be, I'm going to just leave it all in green since the fabric's green. The first thing that stitches out is the strap hole 1 lining placement line. And then we're going to put the strap lining fabric right sides down, covering the line, and stitch the strap hole lining 1 tack down line. So let's, I just want to look through really quick because this is a way to actually see kind of where, it's like a road map. So here's the first one. That's 2, that's 3. So it means that I have 3 steps to this actually before it's the buttonhole, before it's got the hole, before I add the strap. So I'm going to begin by doing 1. And again, I'm just going to use green because I have green fabric. It's in different colors in your direction so the machine stops. So the first line that it does is your placement line. The second line that it does is going to be the tack down for your fabric. So right sides down. And if you want to, you can hold on to it or tape it. Up to you. It's a small piece. I'm just going to hold on. And that's like a triple stitch that's going on there. All right, so now we are at the bottom of page 9. We have taped that down. We have tacked that down. So now we need to remove the hoop from the machine. Don't take your project out. And we need to cut through all of the layers so that we can pull this fabric to the other side. So what's important with this is making sure that you cut all the way to the point. So let me take this over to the table. All right, for this part, you're going to need a pair of scissors that's sharp all the way to the point, because you need something that's going to cut all the way to the point. So, and you want to make it kind of the hole kind of in the center. So I'm going to start by just with my seam ripper poking it through and then sliding it forward. And I'm going to stop right about there because I want to finish that off with my scissors. So again, I'm going to use my seam ripper. I'm staying towards the center of the buttonhole. And then I want to use, I like these because they have that little pointy thing at the end and they're sharp all the way to the tip. So I have to make sure I can get in there and then clip all the way to that corner. All the way to, but not through the stitching line. You have some triple stitching there. So just all the way to the line, but not through the line. So this is what you kind of end up with. So come a little closer there. All right, so then this is going to get pushed to the inside, creating a lined kind of hole. And I am going to press it. I'm going to bring, first of all, I'm going to turn it over. I can't use steam now, remember, because I've got washable stabilizer there. You can use your fingers, though, as a little, kind of a little finger press. So kind of turning it and kind of just giving it a press there. And then you can also tape as you go along. So sometimes that helps. In this case, maybe I'll pin. Try not to push it out of the hoop like I just did. Maybe I can pin from the other side here. Or, let's see what I think I'm going to do here so that I don't keep pulling it out of the hoop. Thank goodness this is kind of easy to rehoop. Is I think I'm going to take my iron and go in there and start to bend those sides a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of go in there and just kind of give it a little bit of a crease so it knows where it needs to fold. All right, now let's try it. Yeah, a little easier. All right, I'm going to use some tape from the back side to kind of take this down. And I'm also going to, let's see if I can put it on the mat. This is one of those times those smaller mats can be pretty beneficial. You can fill the hoop with it. See, it's going to be kind of wrinkly on the back here. That's okay. You're going to cover that with another piece of fabric. All right, so there we kind of got that hole going because that's what our strap's going to go through. All right, I'm going to give it a little bit of a press. Make sure you don't have the steam turned on. This is where your clapper can come in handy. I have a little small one here that fits in my hoop. I press it some more. All right. That's looking pretty good. I don't mind if I see a little bit of that green there, so it's up to you if you want to keep working on it. And then I'm going to place the strap hole backing fabric right side down, covering the hole, and tape in place as shown. So this is going to be from the inside. So I do have to get rid of these pins before I go back to the embroidery machine, because otherwise I won't see them since they're on the back side of my hoop. So I'm going to definitely try to keep the tape on the outside of my next stitching line, but I want to make sure I tape it good so that nothing kind of moves around. And since it's going to go on the back of my hoop, I really like the transport tape a little bit better. In this situation, I feel like it's a little stickier than the paper tape. And I do not want this to move, because move is going to be bad. All right. All right, so I have to get the bottom part down, and then I'll place the fabric over the top of it. All right, there's that part. And then this, I'm just going to place over the top and tape that in place as well. All right, so I am ready to go back. See, I've made like a little window that my strap can go in and out of, and my strap will end up being secured to it. So, all right, let's go back over and sew the third step, which is going to come around the outside or the inside. One side, but only one side to begin with. All right, up to you what color of thread you want to use. It's going to come along the outside here, so if you want to leave it green, you can leave it green. I'm going to go ahead and go with the off-white that matches the little canvas bag here. That didn't get it, so I must not have had it in the right place. There we go. And I'm going to sew this next color stop. All right, I'm going to leave this in here for right now. And then I'm going to take this back over to the table, pull the excess tape off, and I think I'm going to be putting some strap in here right now. All right, from the back, I'm just going to remove all of my tape. And now there's no need for you to actually change the thread there, because remember, there's lining that's going to come down over the top of this, so you won't see that anyway. Just going to take all of this tape out of here. Worked out well. All right, so I'm going to put it back up flat on the table. And I want the long strap. So I want to insert the end of the long strap a 1/2 inch into the opening between the lining and the backing, centering the strap in the opening and taping into place. So the long side of the strap, at least a 1/2 inch in there to the opening, center it in the opening, and then tape it in place. So remember, 1/2 inch in, tape it in place. And now what's going to happen is it's going to come around this side and anchor that strap to to this side of the bag. And then you're going to roll the remaining strap and clip it to keep it out of the way, and then stitch the strap hole 1 backing tack down line, remove the tape, and check to make sure that the strap is secure. So then I just roll this out of the way. And you can use a little clip or something here to hold this. I don't recommend pins though, because it kind of sometimes will make a split in the fiber. Let me grab a clip. There's one of those big ones. I'll just keep it out, kind of out of the way and rolled up. I'm going to take this over to the machine and stitch the last outer tack down line there. So this is color stop 8, step number 26 on the bottom of page 10. And so we already had it go around this way. Now it's going to come around the other way. And this is going to anchor our strap. Then we're going to give our strap a tug and make sure that it's secure in there. Because the next thing to sew after this are some placement lines. All right, so I'm gonna just give this a tug. Let's take this, and it seems secure, so we're good to go with that part of the strap. And then now it's gonna do those registration lines. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and change to that pink thread that I had that was left over from another project, because I'll really be able to see that. I won't have to make marks on it like I did on the front. I'll be able to see from the pink bobbin thread where my registration mark is. So I'm just going to pull this out, take my pink one in there. Just make sure it's like bobbin thread or it's, embroidery thread and not, sewing thread. Sewing thread might be a little problematic, a little thick. All right, so just leftover bobbin. And the last part here is to stitch out my registration lines. And again, if you wanted to pull your bobbin thread up so you didn't have as many stitches right there in the corner where it starts, you could do that. You won't have as many when it stops. So what I could do is, let's grab my thread here, advance 4 stitches, and then just go. So I don't know if you saw that, but it actually pulled the bobbin thread up as it came up. But it ends up with being a lot fewer stitches down there. Okay, so I can see it. And then let me show you what it looks like from the back. So like on the other half of the project in the front here, we actually put markings on it. But look, we don't have to on this because it's pink. We can see it. All right, meet you over at the table. We're going to get ready to do the other side. All right, so I'm going to remove this part from the hoop. So I'm just going to cut away the excess stabilizer, cut it out of the hoop. And to do that, you can use a seam ripper, you can use a pair of scissors. I just want to get it out of the hoop. And since I have pink here for my tack down line or my basting line, I don't have to worry about leaving it in the hoop. I'll be able to see it just fine because it's pink. So just options, different options on how you can do things. All right, get that out of the way. All right, so let's take a look at this. Look at how easy this is going to be. I don't want to pull out my registration because I need that, but I do want to get rid of my basting. So I can just, because I can really see that pink thread, it's going to make this process much easier. So I'm just going to cut a few threads here and there, and then I can pull it out from the front. But because it's pink, I know exactly which stitches I'm pulling out. Much easier than if you have white in your bobbin. Plus you use up bobbins, right? You use up the ones that you maybe wound a little bit too much thread on.
I'll get hopefully Jeannie on the line for you. So this lady, she does not use a machine. It's also been sitting for a couple of years, so we don't know exactly what's going on with it. She can't figure out how to use the machine, so she wants to schedule something for next year. Okay.
To set up a class.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, we'll keep that the same. You have to order this.
The chicken's so good too.
Alrighty.
You like it?
Yeah,
I
I
know.
just keep losing it when I go to fabric.
So we'll keep this the same, this the same, this is gonna be, I haven't ordered that. I don't think I've ordered that, so I'm gonna order that.
That is really pretty.
So we'll add that. Oops. I was just currently added 11 minutes to that.
Here we go. Look at how easy that is.
What's the name? What number is that?
Just takes a couple of extra minutes to, you know, change out that bobbin.
Okay, they don't make that stripe anymore, so let's use, just the cupcake one. Oh, right here. Let's use the squiggly black and, the squiggly black. Yes. Let's
And
use
then,
that.
did I need to pull that out?
Nope, we're gonna use the black and white.
Oh, yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
There we go.
So this is gonna be the squiggly.
All right. So now I have my registration marks that I can see because they're pink. I'm just going to trim the stabilizer around their registration marks to make it a little easier to fold.
Let's, I'm gonna order a bowl of this.
All right, Michelle, are you busy at the moment?
I can pause.
Are
What?
you doing your live feed?
No.
Okay. I was just gonna give you this. This lady was
Okay.
calling. She has a brother, CS 55,
Oh,
whatever,
okay.
Runway,
Yeah.
and she can't figure out what she's
Okay.
doing wrong.
All right.
We're not even sure if there's a problem with the machine.
Okay.
So and she wants to schedule something for the new year.
Oh,
It doesn't
okay.
have to be this week.
All right. Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. They don't make that cut. This is in order. It's just, yeah. They don't make this anymore. And it's just the fact that the back piece is gonna be the bottom one, right?
What about that check?
All right, we're on the last one. So I am selecting design number 4, set and embroidery. And so we have the opposite side now. So the first thing that's going to sew out is our registration marks. And these are the ones that are actually going to, they'll wash off when the bag gets washed. So I don't have to worry about, using a color that I can see the bobbin thread of. So I'm going to go ahead though and use the green or the tan, either one if you want. The green's handy so that I can actually see them to match up with the registration marks on the other piece. So I'm just quickly going to stitch those out. All right, so those are my registration marks. They're ready to place. Just gonna go ahead and thread with the cream colored thread that matches for my basting. And while the hoop is off, I will go ahead and change back to that pink bobbin so I can see my basting stitch to pull it out. See there? I'm going to use up all the rest of this leftover bobbin. All right, meet you at the table. All right, so here's my 2 registration marks, my placement line. And so I'm going to start, let me turn this sideways, by lining up these registration marks. So I'm going to start with that one there. And then come over to this one over here. Looks like it's hard to keep the white paper underneath there. So I'll just show you with the pin when I get done. So I'm just lining this up here and lining that up there. And then remember, this part has to be the seam of the lining. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little pin and I'm going to poke a pin through the corner here. And let's see if I got as lucky. Nope. Let's see about the top one. Oh, that one doesn't look too bad. But the bottom one, not so much. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna try again. Yep. Try on this side. Yep. All right. All right, so my pink thread is in there so that when this bastes to the hoop, it will be easy for me to pull those basting stitches out. All right, basting. All right. So I am down to finishing up the quilting now. It's next. And again, I'll pause, gonna let it get started a little bit, and then pause the video. Okay, we're going to do some flowers here, and then we're going to get ready to do that other big slot for the strap. All right, so the flowers are finished, and we're gonna get ready to do that other big giant buttonhole with fabric. So we're gonna do the placement line first. And then I'm gonna hold, you're gonna put your fabric right sides together, or right side down to the front side here, and I'm just gonna hang on to it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side as I did on the other side. I'm going to take my seam ripper and my really sharp pointy scissors and cut this open, and then turn that fabric to the back side. And I have my iron heating up so that I can press it. All right, so I'm just going to take my, again, make sure that you're in that hoop really nice and tight so that as you do this, you don't push it out of the hoop. I'm going to put my seam ripper down the center here and just push, and then we'll go the other way, and then just a snip into the corners all the way to the corner. All the way through. All the way to, but not through, that's the stitching in the corner. The closer we get to it, though, the cleaner we can make that turn. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my iron and kind of remind it where it's supposed to fold. And I'm going to turn it to the other side and begin taping. I'll just do the tape before I do the pins because I forgot that I had to pull them out to put the back on anyway. So pull some transport tape off here so it's ready to stick. All right, so we're ready to go do that outside stitching. All right, outside. And then we'll do the same thing. We're going to be inserting our other short strap into this side. All right. So let's see. I don't think I even have to take it off the machine to put this strap in. So we are officially on page 13. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the short strap in about a 1/2 inch. Oops, I got to do that. I got to take that tape off, right? I almost forgot that, huh? Let me do that. All right, so now I want to slip this in about a 1/2 inch. And tape it. Again, trying to center it in the hole there. And then I'm going to tape it here while it stitches down. And then we'll give it a tug and make sure that it's secure. All right, so we are finished embroidering. Let's get this second half out of the hoop and get it cleaned up and see where we're off to next. Okay, so we are done with the embroidery part. We are going to start our sewing part, and we're going to sew this little guy together. So we're going to begin by making a mark 1 1/4 inch in from the edge of the zipper. And you can do that with a water-soluble marking pen like I'm doing right now. Almost easier if I don't have that. It's 1 1/4, so making a mark there. And let me do it on the other side. 1 1/4 inch in. All right, so the directions say to whip stitch this with the needle and thread, but you know what I'm going to do? It's to create a stop for the zipper. So I am actually going to use my sewing machine to do this. This one down here, it's not necessary to move the zipper pull. This one up here by the zipper pull, you're gonna have to open this up. Otherwise you won't be able to unzip your bag. So I'm gonna start with the other one over here, and I will meet you over at the sewing machine. All right, so I just have a zigzag stitch. The width is 3.5 and the length is 0. So it's almost like a really tight satin stitch. I'm just gonna start and just whip it across about 6 or 8 times. I have changed to some sewing thread. I didn't change the needle though. I think I'm gonna be okay with the one I've been stitching with. All right, so I wanna see where my mark is. Put the foot down. So what I want to try to do is put the foot down with the center mark. I'm just using my J foot right down the center of that zipper. And it looks like my 3.5 is not quite wide enough. So I'm going to go to 4.5. And I'm just going to whip it around a few times. And then I'm going to use the stitch in place to actually tie off. So then I just have that little mark there. Now I'm going to come on up here and I am going to do the same thing. Also, make sure when you do this that, you know, you're not sewing the lining together. You're just actually making like a zipper pull stop for the zipper. I'm going to put these together here. Put that down. I have to make sure I hold these together, at least for the first couple of stitches, because the zipper is undone. Want to make sure I get both sides. And then we'll make a stitch in place. All right. So that one's done as well. So I have a little stopper there. And then if you feel like it's not enough, you can always go to a straight stitch and then go across the top of it. So if I just do a straight stitch, then I can come over here and go, okay, I'm not sure that that's gonna hold, so I'll just go across this way. All right, so my zipper is secure. Let's see what the next step is. Open the zipper halfway and remove the clips from both straps. Fold each strap towards the center of the project, tape over and around the straps to hold them in place. Rotate the project so the open zipper end is on the left. All right. All right, so I have everything all clipped together for stitching. So my pieces of strap are taped to the inside so that they can't get stuck in the seam allowances. I pinned right sides together of the front and the back, and then right sides together of the lining pieces. At the zipper point, I folded them in half. Now this is the side that opens up, so the teeth will be pointing towards the lining, but the tape will be pointing towards the right side of the bag. And over here, the opposite, the tape is pointing towards the right side, and since this one is not open, your teeth are covered. At the very top up here, I've left a 5-inch opening to turn it. So I am going to sew using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around on both sides. So I'm going to start here and end here. So I'll meet you over at the sewing machine. All right, so I'm using my J foot as a guide. And if you start with the center needle position, come on, focus here. If you start with the center needle position and then you move your needle over to the right using a left-right shift 0.50. So mine says left-right shift 4. I've moved my needle that way a little bit. And what that does is with the edge of the foot gives me a perfect 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And before we finish these bags, we're going to box the corner here so that it, it gives it kind of a better shape. So don't worry about, being perfectly square in the corners here, because you're going to actually end up trimming some of this off. Looks like I need one more stitch that way. And my stitch length is just 2.5, the average stitch length. Again, we're going to box all 4 corners, so don't worry too much about being perfectly, perfectly pivoted on the corner there. You do want to box stitch at the beginning and the end so that when you go to turn this, it doesn't rip apart. All right, so got that part done. I'm going to take it over to the table and measure out my corners at, I think it's 1.25 inches. We're going to find out though. So I'm going to continue by actually marking 3/4 inch squares in each of the corners here. These are going to create our boxed corners so that our bag has some shape other than just flat. So we're gonna cut those out, and then it says reinforce the seam stitching by sewing 1 inch from each mark. And that's like right here and right here. So it's so that this doesn't come unstitched as we box the corners. So we're gonna cut this 3/4 inch square out, and then I'm gonna just reinforce here once that piece is cut out all the way around all 4 corners, just so that it can't come undone. So there's one corner. And the same here, 1 3/4, or just 3/4, I'm sorry. All 4 corners are the same. And then I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and sew my reinforcement stitching right along that seam line, right until where it, I cut, so that when I go to open it up and sew it across, it doesn't just rip it out more. All right, I'm still at 3/8 of an inch. I still have the same measurement I had. So I'm just going to start at the very edge, and I'm just going to go all the way around. I'm going to start, and I am going to do some back stitching, and I just really need 1 inch. So once I get that in there, I'll just cut and go to the next corner. And so with this, I'll do the same thing, put it down, reinforce a little bit. But really where I want to reinforce is just before I get to the end. so that when I go to stitch the next steps, I won't undo the stitching because I just cut some. All right, let's look what our next step is. All right, so I'm going to start on the lining because the lining fabric is easier to move. But essentially what I want to do is open this up. So I want to grab, I'm still wrong sides out. And I want to fold this to make a little boxed corner. So normally what I do is fold one side one way and one side the other way. Now, I can see this from the top. So I know that I can get over it without pushing it the other way. On the bottom, it's a little bit harder to do that. So I want that part up. And then I'm just going to take it over here. And again, I'm going in 3/8 of an inch. So you can kind of feel through there and you'll feel how your seams are matching. And I'm only going in 3/8 of an inch, so I just have to smooth out enough for that. So what we want is when we turn it, we now have a corner that can stand up. So if I were to turn it this way, you'll see that I have that little corner. So, and in the perfect world, your corner here will line up, but if it doesn't, it's okay. But we want to try to be as close to it as we can. And if you feel like you need to use a pin to do that, that's okay too. So again, I'm smoothing this out, pulling it open, pressing one seam one way and one seam the other way. Still keeping with the 3/8 of an inch. Just make sure you're kind of even. All right, so same thing over here. This just is at first a little bit harder to kind of open up, but you know what? Once you get it opened up, this is easier to stitch. So again, just gonna lay that down, make sure that my seams come together. Same on the other side.
And my brother has even tried those on. I said, I'm not worried about it. I see you next week, don't worry about it. So I'll see you Friday. Thank you.
All right. So we got all those corners done. We now have boxed corners. Let's see what the next step is. All right, our next step is to create a 1.5 by 3/4 of an inch rectangle, equally distributed between the lining and the fashion fabric, or the right side. And here's where our stitches are that we did to do on our zipper, our fixed stitches on the zipper, the ones we put in to make a zipper stop, our whip stitches. They need to be on the inside, not the outside. So once we've done this, we're going to go ahead and you can stitch 1 inch, 1 inch to 1 inch over on these edges here, just like we did for these other corners, because we're going to cut this piece out. So 1 inch by 1 inch, you can hear 1 inch by 1 inch here down at the bottom. So you can do it before or after. I'm going to go ahead and clip and then do it. So we're going to actually get rid of fabric and the zipper tape when we do this.
Significantly larger pocket, significantly larger memory on the embroidery side.
So then when I go to do the fixed stitch, it's going to be right here at the end. So like 1 inch on either side. So that when I pull this open to do the same thing I did with the corners, I'm not going to rip the seam out. All right, I'm going to do that right now. Right, doing the same thing. I pinched my corners together, and I'm going to sew that edge at 3/8 of an inch. Come on, go. There we go. Now we're talking, right? All right. And the same on the other side. All right, the only thing left to do now is turn it inside out and see how we did. All right, and then give it a press. All right, I want to get my corners nice and smooth already, my little boxed corners. So I'm going to just stretch this out just as if I was just sewing it, give it a little bit of a press. And then same over here, flatten it out like I was just sewing it, give it a little press. And I will do the same with the lining.
And so that may have been a little bit different as far as, like, it should be
I can use a little bit of steam on the lining because it doesn't have any stabilizer on it. All right. Then I'm going to, from the hole I left in the bottom, I'm going to work the bag through. Just pushing everything in there. Going to pull it all out at the same time and press.
So, like I said, like getting back and forth, part of the reason I was putting this on is I wanted to take you to the
All right, here we go. Coming out of there. Come on out. Yay. All right, so let's pull this tape off.
It's going to show you where you are, and you've got your crosshairs here. You can blow that up or not. You can go forward or backwards, 1, 10, 100, or you can actually change the color. The crosshairs here. Yeah. What?
Oh, this is going to be fun. So I'm just kind of pushing my corners out. Look at how nice that is. And then I'm gonna stick my hand in there so I can push those other corners out. And it's always kind of nice to spend a little bit of extra time pressing these corners as you begin, because I want it, you know, I want it to look like a bag. I don't want it to be flat. I want it to have that third dimension. So I kind of want to turn, so I can see where the edge to edge is there. So I can actually put a little bit of press in there so that the bag kind of remembers where it wants to go on both sides. Just kind of giving it a little memory there. Not a bunch, just a little. Open it all the way now. I still have to be able to sew this. So the bottom hole there. So I'm gonna just pull this, and usually what I do is just give it a little, and it kind of makes it fold into where the seam is for the rest of it. I'm just gonna do a straight stitch all the way across the bottom. I'm not a hand stitch kind of girl. So we'll get that, I'll take care of that right now. And then we'll get the hardware on our straps. And here is our little bag. So now we just need to put our hardware on. So if you gather your two pieces of hardware, which will be your buckle piece and your tri-glide or slider. And let's take a look at that.
Best walking foot in the industry, independent control, they hover.
All right, this is gonna seem weird. It's gonna seem really awkward, but I promise it's gonna work. So I want you to set your bag right side up with the zipper pull to the left. It should be zipped, just so we know that we're going the right way. I want you to take your tri-glide, and you're gonna take the long end of the strap, the end of the strap, put it up through the tri-glide, bring it down the other side. All right, slide that over there. Then get, your buckle has two parts to it. It has the inner buckle frame, and then it has the outer buckle frame. So together it goes like this, all right? So open it up, take your inner buckle frame. All right, here's my inner buckle frame. I want to come up through the slot, go down through this slot. All right, so now it should look like this. All right, with a bunch of space in between. I'm gonna make a little bit of space here, and I'm gonna take this from the bottom and I'm gonna bring it up through the bottom of my tri-glide buckle. All right, this is gonna anchor it to the tri-glide. All right, so now it looks like this. And you can do it either this way or this way if you want to hide the seam, the edge of the strap, the twill strap in the. So now it kind of looks something like this. I'm going to zoom in. So I went, here was the tri-glide. Here's how I started. Then I took the strap and went down here. All right. And then I wrapped the strap around the inside of the tri-glide. And then what I'm going to do is stitch across here. And that's going to make this part of the strap, the long part of the strap, adjustable. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can finish this. This doesn't seem to want to ravel, so I'm just going to use a straight stitch on it and anchor it. Depends on how fancy schmancy you want to get. You could actually wrap a little bit of the green fabric around this and create, you know, an end for it. You can use a lighter and just kind of burn and fray, you know, burn the edges so it can't continue to fray, but this really doesn't look like it's gonna fray. Plus, by putting it on this way, this part is gonna be hidden within here, so you won't see it. When this is closed, you won't see that part at all. So whatever way that you think that would be easier for you to do, if you want to, also you can also use a piece of leftover vinyl or leather or whatever to cover that strap end with. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch this. So I'm just going to use a straight stitch. I'm going to use a far left needle position, or far left needle position. Not knowing my right from my left today. And I'm just going to do a row of straight stitching. Now, I'm not going to start at the very end. If I start at the very end, there's a chance that I will push the strap forward. So I'm going to start in the middle and then go backwards to back tack. And that way I can be sure and keep it on the straight and narrow. All right. So I just did a little straight stitching there is all to hold that. And then this is going to be, that part's going to be closed against the inside of the tri-glide. And so the tri-glide will control how much or how little. And then you can just feed it through the other part of the buckle. All right, so we're going to just put the other part of the buckle on, and we are done. All right, for this other side, I actually did fold because this side is going to get some usage. So I did fold that. The other end is hidden underneath the tri-glide, so it won't get much wear. This might. Go ahead and stitch that. And then I'm going to go just flip my needle to the other side and run another line of stitching parallel, just to do some extra security here. All right. And then we'll just trim those edges. Those threads. All right. So there we go. There is our waist bag. So cute. I think I need to add some beads or something to the zipper pull here. Make it fun. But there's our little waist pack. What an adorable project.